From the Kingdom of Nye, across the country, around the world, and throughout the universe, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell on the CBC Radio Network.
With regard to Iraq, somebody sent me something a little earlier today that I thought was rather catchy. And I would like to try and play it for you. Let's see if this works.
We should kill him. Would be thrilling. Just to kill him. Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head. Let's beat the crap out of Saddam. Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head. And bomb Iraq to the ground. Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head. Let's beat the crap out of Saddam. Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head. And bomb Iraq to the ground.
Don't screw with the USA. Don't screw with the USA.
Now if he does attack, we're gonna drop a stack of missiles on Iraq and get him off our back. And if he won't let us look for all his nerve gas, the U.S. Army is gonna kick him in the ass. In the ass.
We should destroy that Iraqi boy.
Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head. Let's beat the crap out of Saddam. Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head. And bomb Iraq to the ground. Let's hunt him down and shoot him in the head. Let's beat the crap out of Saddam.
That comes to us from an anonymous source over the internet. That was a WAV file, and it was sort of catchy. I really couldn't resist playing that for you. The Mars lander is to carry a microphone in 1999. People on Earth will have the opportunity for the first time ever to listen for life on Mars, as well as look for it, when NASA launches its next mission to Mars in January of '99. The Mars Polar Lander will have aboard a microphone to hear wind, dust, and electrical discharges and any other movement. Any other movement. One way or another, the microphone may prove the next best thing to actually being there. And one has to wonder what the first sounds from Mars will be. I just got a fax from Peter Davenport at the National UFO Reporting Center. Says, Art, I was intrigued to hear tonight that NASA is considering putting a mic on the next probe to Mars. However, we may already have heard from Mars by radio. I attached the following article, August 28th, 1924, issue of the New York Times. That long ago. The development of a photographic film record of radio signals during a period of about 29 hours, while Mars was closest to the Earth, has deepened the mystery of the dots and dashes reportedly heard at the same time by widely separated operators of powerful stations. C. Francis Jenkins of Washington, inventor of the device, which he calls the Radio Photo Message Continuous Transmission Machine, was induced by Dr. David Todd, Professor Emeritus of Astronomy of Amherst, and the organizer of the International Listening In for Signals from Mars, to take the record. This film, 30 feet long and 6 inches wide, discloses in black on white a fairly, get this, regular arrangement of dots and dashes along one side, but on the other side, almost evenly spaced intervals are curiously jumbled in groups, each taking the form of a, brace yourself, crudely drawn face. Says Mr. Jenkins, I don't think the results have anything to do with Mars. Quite likely the sounds recorded are the result of heterodyning or interfering radio signals. The film, though, shows a repetition of intervals at about a half hour of what does appear to be a man's face. He said, it's a freak. We cannot explain it. All right. John Oates. David Oates is a very interesting person. He is Australian, originally. David has himself a speech impediment, which you will hear he stutters a little bit, and that led him into a study of something called reverse speech. And rather than explain that myself, I would much prefer to allow David to tell us the short 101 of what is reverse speech. David?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well.
Good. All right. Reverse speech 101. Well, the basic theory I'm pursuing is that the process of language is twofold. As the human brain is constructing the sounds of speech, it's putting those sounds together in such a way that we are delivering two messages at the same time. The first message is forwards, which is obviously how I'm talking to you now, and that is how we hear everyone talk in normal everyday conversation, and that is coming from the conscious mind. We are consciously choosing what we say when we speak.
Does that mean like left or right brain, David?
That means, according to my theory, forward speech is coming from the left brain hemisphere. The actual words that we use are constructed by the left brain. Linguists will tell you that the emotional expressions in speech come from the right brain. Now, I claim that the emotional expressions in speech that are coming from the right brain are constructed and put together in such a way that they're actually creating a separate communication backwards. And quite literally, your speech is recorded and played in reverse once every 10 seconds or so. You can hear these very clear phrases, some of them as clear as I'm talking to you now, that is coming from the unconscious mind. So forward speech is left brain and conscious. Reverse speech is right brain and
it's emotional. It's usually emotional.
Oh, yes.
And you don't have any control over it either.
No, you have no control over it. Well, you have no control over the content of it. You can actually control the frequency of it. It's interesting to note that the more left brain one becomes in their speech, the more they can drop out any emotional content at all. The reversals drop off fairly substantially to, where on average they're once every 10 seconds, they'll drop down to maybe once every 45 or 60 seconds.
So reverse speech is like a gigantic McGungus truth teller. Yes, that is exactly how I would explain it. On one level, you get down to the deeper levels, which I really don't get into the air much, where it gets into the unconscious mind and metaphors and archetypes, but that's too complex for what we can. It is, and what we like is what we can hear, since we don't understand the rest of reverse speech. However, I would like to say this to you. I had a call the other night during, one of the shows I was doing, and somebody said, "Oh, he tells you what is going to be said every time, so of course you hear it. You could do that with any jumble." And I naturally jumped up and defended you and said, "That's bull. We put jumble on the air before, and you can't understand a word of it."
Right. Yeah, well, I've done that many, many times on the air. If it's not there, you can't hear it. I've done control phrases where I played a reversal and told you to hear something different than what is there, and you can't hear it.
And you can't hear it, that's right.
And I've played gibberish as well that has nothing and said, "This is what it says," and you can't hear it. The reason why I tell people up front on the air, well, it's really primarily a time factor. We've got so many reversals to get through. Reversals have a very unique sound to them. They have this melodious, sing-song, ethereal type tone, and when we start playing, I want the listeners to particularly notice its very unique sound. And it's like trying to learn anything new. It takes a while for the ears to adjust to it. If anyone's ever walked into a ham Radio Shack for the first time and hears this single sideband signals,
that's right.
It's very difficult for the newcomer to decipher them. And so that's how I defend what I do. In my training classes when I'm teaching students, it takes a good 6 months for the new student to tune their ears to hear them without being prompted beforehand.
And there are two things here that you should know. One, David's reverse speech is actually officially recognized by the government as a legitimate career field, right?
That is correct. We have our own occupational codes by the Department of Labour. We got them about a year ago now. Also, my training school is now officially recognised by the state of California, which is where I live, as a post-secondary educational institution.
Wow. And plus, folks, he's been suggested to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for his work. Now, that should add a little up